Hello and welcome back to the Stars of Your World. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after finally being introduced to the big wolf guy. And finally, more or less figuring out how the protagonist got to this world, which is probably because of some sort of portal telescope thingy that the wolf was trying to create in order to view a comet. And it kind of seems like it's maybe related to the same comet that they were or that the protagonist was like looking at too, like maybe, I don't know. It also shows how the protagonist, like at the very last minute, was like, hey, so I'm gonna like come here to this bridge in order to watch the comet too, but like I'm also having like maybe second thoughts about like going through with, you know, taking myself out. But then the bridge collapsed and, you know, fell in the water. But there is no real memory of exactly what happened when they fell into the water, up leading to the point where they woke up, you know, in the room, in the guest bedroom, I guess. So maybe some other shenanigans happened. We don't know yet. Anyways, what else? We see that the wolf guy Darius is a bit of a, I hesitate to call him a nerd because he's an engineer, but he is kind of like that, you know, like, so like he was so interested in like the smartphones and some other stuff like that. And like maybe he is a bit of a tech nerd, you know, he's an inventor who apparently can invent a portal to traverse a large span of space in order to go like to another moon. Oh, apparently one of the other moons that this world has that they're on is a corpse that used to belong to a deity. So like, yeah, gods are real in this universe, or at least what passes for a god in this universe. What else? The protagonist doesn't seem very like yeah, I want to go back home. It's like, there's nothing back home for me. So like, if I didn't go back, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So like, yeah. Anywho, so yeah, without further ado, let us continue. This would be chapter 4 and chapter 5, I think, because one of them is a little shorter than the other one. So yeah, they'll be put together. Chapter 4, Another Ordinary Day. Tick. Talk. 19 o'clock on the dot. 11 hours and 23 minutes has elapsed since I shut my eyes. Sleeping in an unfamiliar bed is always somewhat uncomfortable. Your brain always tries to take in the maximum amount of information in an unfamiliar environment. How the air lingers with a different scent. How the mattress doesn't exactly sink in the way that one's spine would expect. My stuffed animals and hugging pillow aren't here either. Antonio. He must have felt so much worse, waking in a strange room, wounded, and then seeing me standing there in the dark, staring him down like a giant fool. That must have been a horrifying experience for him. I rubbed my face before taking a deep breath. No. I have to calm down. Antonio said that it was okay, and he had forgiven me. This is a trust-building exercise between us. As I have said, I need to trust him. I propped myself off the mattress into a sitting position. It feels firm under my hand, quite a big contrast from mine. Cairo said that he was more used to sleeping on more solid surfaces. The last time that I slept in Kairos' room was during renovations 8 years ago. Just like now, I tried to sleep on the floor, but he insisted that I have the bed. Definitely not the best quality sleep that I have had. Must have spent at least an hour just tossing and turning. How could I sleep soundly with someone from another world in my guest room? The many thoughts that had disappeared when I fell asleep are starting to resurface. Did I make a good first impression? What should I say next when we meet? What face should I make? What topic should we even discuss first? My stomach growls. Suppose that I should eat first. If Antonio heard that, he would probably think that I wanted to eat him or something. No. He won't. I hope. But there shouldn't be any more room for errors, especially after such a series of personal failures. A sigh escaped my muzzle. Creaking the door open, I scan the hallway to make sure that there's nothing out of the ordinary. All clear, it seems. No new or displaced objects. So I shut my eyes, right ear twitching as I take in the surrounding noises. Other than some background noise, I can only hear the slight muffled creaking of a kitchen cabinet opening and closing. 46 steps from Kairos' bedroom to the kitchen. What should I talk to Antonio about? Math? No. He said that he didn't like math. 34 steps. Biology? Maybe I could try asking him about the animals back on Earth. Kairos said that Antonio recognized us as animal people, meaning the fauna there should share some similarities with us. I do wonder if this means that the theory that our parent has multiple solar systems under their care is potentially true. But Antonio seemed surprised when I mentioned gods. Did they not interact with the creatures of Earth? No, I'm getting distracted. What else? 24 steps. Technology? He seemed quite receptive. Maybe that's something that I can talk about. Maybe I can ask about the phone and camera that he has. But I can't just ramble about tech forever. Top priority right now is making sure that he can survive without us. I have to think of something else. Geography? 12 steps. History? Politics? 10 steps. Would he even be interested? What if he finds those things boring? 5 steps. But they would still be important knowledge to equip him with. I rubbed my head for tilting my head up at the ceiling. 1 step. Gah! Somehow my chin slammed against the kitchen door with an audible smack. No pain, as always. But how did I miscount my steps? I was sure. A voice echoes from behind the door. Darius? Yes? Did you bump into the door? Yes? I go for the door handle before feeling my arm tense up. Oh, Kairos, is the kitchen, I feel the corners of my mouth tugging into a frown. There is no scent of gas being burned, but it's always good to ask first. Yes, I am using the induction stove today. When I enter the kitchen, Kairos is facing away from me, preparing something on the countertop. Salami by the smell. The spicy ones. I always smell porridge, but there is a salty scent to it this time. Thinking about something? Yeah, Antonio. How can you tell? Quite unlike you to bump into things in your own home. Unless you're distracted, that is. Hungry? Go sit. I'll make us some salami and eggs. We can have it on toast. 'Kay. Scrambled as usual, yes? Do you want some coffee? No thanks. I reach for the electric percolator in the cabinet, but just stop short of grabbing it, instead going for the kettle. This isn't quite the time for me to go through my routine coffee rituals. I need to keep it brief and check up on Antonio. Instant coffee today? Yeah. Do leave me some hot water then, thanks. I fill the kettle halfway up with water before putting it on. Sometimes I'm really glad that we installed the induction stove before I basically had to rely on Kairos to heat everything up. And cooking was entirely out of the question, unless it's tossing salad or making a marinade. When did you start doing that anyway? It was after that trip with the Myrna girl, if I recall. Yeah, she gave me that big jar of imported beans and the percolator. You were staring at that thing for an awfully long time. Well, it makes funny noises when it's operating, and I needed something to busy myself with in the morning. Kairos exhales sharply before going quiet for a moment. Darius. My right ear perks up. Yes? Are you going to tell her about the portal's condition? The kettle whistles in the background as I pour 2 spoonfuls of instant coffee into my favorite mug. I do need to tell Myrna, don't I? It would be rather weird if I didn't tell her about how the window maker performed after going on about it for years now. It's inevitable if I want to rebuild it. I only managed to procure some of the scarce components with their help. I take the kettle off before pouring half of it into my mug and stirring. Trying to hide it properly wouldn't work against her. She would be able to tell right away that something went wrong the moment that I tried to ask her for some more of the extremely specific materials that were needed to build the window maker. I want Antonio to fully recover first before taking any action, and maybe for him to familiarize himself with our world too. Oh, and how are his wounds? All of them are uninfected and are healing very well. Too well, in fact. Too well? Kairos nods. Before he speaks, I hear sizzling. Soon after, an distinct aroma of herbs, pepper, and grease enters my nose. His healing speed is much faster than the average person's. Inflammation is minimal. It's something that I would expect from a minor wound after a few days of healing, not something that just got reopened just over a day ago. Is he maybe, a weaver? Unlikely. Kept track of his bodily mana concentration, about the average level for a non-weaver, if a bit below that. It was much lower when he arrived, but nothing that would point to him being a weaver. Maybe that's just how fast people from Earth heal. We only have ourselves as a reference frame. Quite possible, but it's still something that separates him from the average person. I take some mental notes as plates clatter gently against the countertop behind me. The crisp sound of eggshells cracking soon follows. Have you figured out a cover story for him? Oh, not quite. I was thinking maybe he could be here to study the town? Something that's not too grand. I'm not quite sure yet. I will ask him to help. It is his story after all. I don't want to impose a random narrative on him without his consent. Kairos doesn't comment and continues to stir the egg pan with a pair of chopsticks. He has taken a liking to those lately. Well, it's a good thing that the storm provided a convenient cover story for how nobody noticed him getting into town. Having a guest in our household will also help explain our strange behavior as of late. Yeah, people have likely already noticed that there's something off with us. Kairos not being the one to go into town, me running around with a mask on. While stockpiling supplies is an abnormal behavior for us, we still have to purchase new clothes and other miscellaneous items for Antonio down the road. The townsfolk likely won't dig into things as long as he doesn't cause trouble, but we still need to make sure that everything is spotless. Yeah, that's one upside of living here. Once everything settles down, it will be as if Antonio had always been here, like how they welcomed us. I hope so, at least. Kairos sets a plate down in front of me. Salami, scrambled eggs, and some crunchy-looking toast. Just how I like it. Doubtful the townsfolk will be our biggest issue. But you should eat first. We will discuss this later. A hungry mind is a cloudy mind. Uncle used to always say that. Also, that's probably stirred well enough by now. Without realizing it, I've been stirring my coffee during the entire length of our conversation. Kairos then sat down with a plate of his own before we began silently eating as always. A bite of crisp salami, some fluffy scrambled eggs, a crunch of toast. Still, it's rather difficult trying to pretend everything is normal when there is just a person from another world right above our heads, someone who is in a terribly vulnerable situation, and it's all my fault. I grab my mug of coffee, giving it a light swirl and watching as the dark liquid ripples before settling into a reflection of me. I set the mug back down. By the way, Kairos. Kairos doesn't respond as he is chewing, but he directs his gaze at me. Is Antonio awake? Once Kairos finishes chewing, he responds. He is, at least a bit ago. Should be waiting for his meal right now. Are you going to talk to him? Yeah, there is a lot to inform him about before we can go outside. It is my personal responsibility to tell him as much as possible after all. You're going to need this then. Kairos produces a small case from his pocket before handing it to me. I know exactly what it is. The ruby. The porridge will take a bit to cool, so do take your time to eat first. Before I realize, I was already standing in front of Antonio's door. It's so strange to even think about. This room has been empty ever since we first renovated it. I never expected that we would ever have any guests, and a long-term one at that. Looking down, I just now notice I don't have an empty hand to knock. In one hand, a bowl of warm, salted porridge. In the other, a book from downstairs. So logically, I raise my book hand and prepare to knock. And the words don't come out right. No. I just need to... Deep breath in, deep breath out. I knock. Antonio, are you awake? Uh-huh. Do come in. When I entered the room, he was sitting on the further side of the bed, facing the window. I have practiced so many variations of my greeting, but the second that he turned to face me, every single bit of practice that I've done simply vanished from my brain, so I just stand there, stammering. Antonio sits there in silence for a bit. I really expected him to be annoyed or something, but then he just smiled. Darius, good afternoon. Oh, yeah. Good afternoon. Antonio. You changed your hair. I see. This? Antonio points at his hair before tucking a loose strand behind his ear. Yeah, I suddenly became acutely aware of how annoying it is to have half of my vision obscured all the time. You kinda look like Kairos now, with your hair tied up. Is that so? He runs his hand through his slick back hair. And if I am not mistaken, that would be his, ribbon? Yep, he let me borrow it. Must have gotten tired of seeing me move my bangs out of my face all the time. His words trailed off. That's when I realized that his eyes were fixed on me. So, any thoughts? Huh? Since you were just standing there looking at me, I thought you were coming up with a comment or something. Oh, no, it's just... Oh God, have I been staring ahead this entire time? Relax, I'm just messing. I do think that you look nice, though. The words come out of my mouth much faster than I could catch them. Oh, really? Well, geez, thanks. Yeah, you look, and feel a lot livelier now. Apparently being chased by a giant werewolf right after waking up does things to you. He exhales sharply with a small smile. Wait, actually, does that even translate? The concept of a werewolf? It actually went through perfectly. Really now? Color me surprised. Don't you need to know what a human is first? Hey, don't say that you have humans here too. I point at myself. I am one. His smile fades as his eyes widen. Let's hope that I didn't freak him out too badly. And, Kairos is one too. Not the same kind of human as you are, of course. His eyes narrow, seemingly in deep thought. That is, a big twist to drop on someone who hasn't had his meal yet. That clearly translated as human. I'm not mistaking things, am I? Can you repeat what you just said? Kairos and I are humans. I wasn't just hearing things then. So your concept of a human is the same as mine. Like two-legged ape kind of humans, and not just the general concept of sapient animal people? Specifically the two-legged ape humans, yes. They would be our predecessors. But how could there be humans on two entirely separate planets? Antonio then closes his eyes before twirling a loose strand of hair with his fingers. He sighs before bringing his hands down on his thighs with an audible clap. Well, I do suppose that I gotta start getting used to hearing weird things, huh? He then saunters over to the other side of the bed before sitting down. So... Yes? Gonna come closer and give me a rundown of this whole human deal? Or are you just gonna be over there the entire time? Right, sorry. I hurry over and move the chair to face Antonio before sitting down, setting the bowl in my hand on a bedside table. Cursory question before we get into the topic of humans. You are fine, yeah? Well, like physically? Yep, no more need to worry about me or anything. As you just saw, I can move around pretty swell on my own. Besides, Kairos is constantly checking up on me. Seems like a reliable kind of guy. He's the most reliable person that I know. I give my response without a moment of hesitation. It is true after all. He has been by my side longer than anyone else, longer than even my parents and uncle. Sure seems like it. Man, I wonder if he even sleeps. I am most certain that he does. Antonio then flicks open his notebook and gestures at me with the eraser of his pencil. Anyway, addressing the elephant in the room, I'm gonna need you to explain everything. What do you mean that you know that I am a human and you are one too? So basically humans like you are what we call old humans, bipedal great apes. Kairos and I may superficially appear to be two entirely separate animal species, but we are in fact the same species, just different subspecies if you will. Huh. Antonio jots the information down in his notebook. So, I'm assuming old humans are called old for a reason, yeah? They are, as far as we are aware, extinct on Vistella. It's what I choose to be the topic of conversation for today. Is that why you propose the whole illusionary disguise thing? Yes, unfortunately, if you walk around as you are now, it would only be a matter of time before you are taken either by the government or some shady organization. Best case scenario, you live the rest of your life under government supervision. If you desire this, I will do everything in my power to deliver you to them and make sure you are not mistreated by them. Nah. Not yet anyway. I'm probably not going anywhere unless you two start doing some crazy experimentation on me or turn me into a slave. I assure you that we will do no such things. I'm taking your word for it. My life is pretty cushy right now, and while I may not know anything about your government, if they're anything like ours back home, then I would rather not be involved with them at all. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of trust in the government. I suppose having a dislike for people who have power over you is only natural. Anyway, what would be the bad case scenario? Well, I hope that you do take this for fear-mongering, but a few scenarios that I have come up with are... I put up a finger and begin to give a recount. 1. You are taken by a cult and become their subject of worship. But I suppose that some people would want this position, so depending on your point of view, this may not be a bad thing. I don't think that I'm built for that. Next scenario. 2. You become a subject of unethical scientific studies. The existence of a living old human, or at least someone resembling one, would be a scientific wonder discussed by people worldwide. There are those who would do anything to study and know anything about you, so you may get dissected and slashed or have your organs harvested. Antonio then looks at his stomach with a deep frown. Don't think that I would enjoy that scenario. I try to comfort him with a smile. I didn't think that you would. My other scenarios of a similar nature, either you become protected and supervised by an organization, taken advantage of, or potentially both at once. I suppose if a caveman suddenly appeared on Earth, they would probably be subjected to the same kind of treatment. The obsession with old humans on Vistella goes a bit deeper than what you can imagine, I'm afraid. Much deeper than just curiosity and a mere drive for knowledge. Why so? Some people here have a fanatical obsession with old humans. There are those who follow this ideology of ancestral purity. They believe the state that we are in now to be tainted and desire to return to a pure state of humanity. The old humans? Correct. There are extremists who shave their fur and grind down their fangs to appear as close to their ancestral form as possible. Simian people get swept up and become the mascot of this ideology because of their similarities to old humans. Of course, this ideology is rejected by most people right now, but cults are known for their persistence and fanaticism. The moment that they are aware of your existence, they would likely do anything to get their hands on you. Antonio goes quiet, staring down at his notebook. He probably needs some time to digest everything, so I just stay quiet and watch him. Antonio lightly taps the pencil against his forehead. His face is scrunched up, seemingly deep in thought. Then he begins scribbling in his notebook, With nothing to do at the moment, I just watch him. Maybe I should try to come up with something to say next, but I find my mind completely blank. What do I even do in this moment? What should I do? No one has ever encountered this scenario before. This is completely unprecedented. I have no knowledge or experience to fall back on. There are fictional books out there about people meeting an old human who survived, but this is even beyond that. He looks like an old human, but he is from another planet. He feels no different from an ordinary person, yet he is so different from anyone that I have met. The way he emotes, the way he talks, the way he tries to reassure me when I was the one at fault. I wasn't sure how I expected him to be like when I saw him for the first time falling from the heavens through the window, unconscious, soaked, bleeding, with torn and tattered clothes. It was beyond everything that I could have ever planned for. I just stood there in the fields, utterly overwhelmed by torrents of thoughts. If Kairos weren't there, how long would I have just stood there for? I'm not quite sure. It all feels so confusing. My thoughts have been so incoherent lately. The sound of graphite scratching against paper coming to a halt brings me back to reality. Okay, I think that I may have a clue of what happened here. May I propose it? Ah, yes, do feel free. Okay, so in the past, your ancestors looked basically something like me. But then something happened, likely whatever caused the Lord of Life. You talk about being entombed in that second moon of yours. The death of that god caused the old humans to become... He then made a gesture with his index and middle finger, flexing then relaxing them. Tainted. Based on context clues, likely some form of somatic quotation marks. And by tainted, I assume that the way that you all look right now, you, for example, resemble a dog or a wolf of some sort, and Kairos looks like a cat. But you both still count as one species overall, and this whole ideology is to return humanity back to when you were untainted, i.e. like me. So if I were to get spotted in public, as I am now, I will likely either be turned into an idol, a zoo animal, or a lab rat. How close is that? Very close. I'm quite surprised that you deduced everything with such limited information. He shrugs. You gave me enough clues to figure things out. I do want you to know more about how we got here as a species, though, which is why I have brought you. I present the book that I have been holding this entire time and put on a cheery tone. The Creno Bog's Record, A Human Account, Volume 1. It sounded forced. Wow, look at that. It even has a cover image. I was reading back on it right after you arrived in our world. I figured that it would come in handy. I flip to a random page with an illustration and show it to Antonio. It even has illustrations inside. Antonio chuckles. Is something wrong? Nah, no, sorry. I'm just glad that there are pictures between the giant blocks of text that I don't understand. I will read everything to you, of course, even when I am not around. Maybe you can still hold on to the book and look at some illustrations, if you want to. Maybe. Kairos can help you with reading too. Maybe it can be practice material, but I wonder if it is appropriate for new learners. The language used isn't too complicated. There are some scientific terms, but they are relatively basic. You can always ask me and Kairos for help. Realizing that I am rambling again, I force myself to shut up. The inner parts of my ears feel hot. When I build enough courage to look back up at Antonio, I found him just looking at me with a soft smile. Sorry. I, got off topic. No, it's quite all right. I like it when people are passionate about things. I need more of that in my life. Are there any pics, illustrations of old humans in there? I want to see what they look like. I quickly flip to page 32, where there is a drawn image of a Priblatago human family, before handing the book to Antonio. It's only an artistic recreation of what they look like, unfortunately, but I figured that this is the most appropriate for a first impression. Antonio looks at the context of the book as he traces the page with his thumb. A soft smile appears on his face. Yeah, you're right. It is a good first impression. They really do look like me. There should also be images from medical journals, which should be more accurate biologically. Those should be from page 87 to page 110. His eyes flick around the pages from top to bottom before flipping through a few pages with his fingers. Damn, did you memorize the page numbers? I don't see any markings or bookmarks or whatever. Oh, I remember everything that I experience. He looks up with widened eyes. Everything? I nod. It's a talent of mine. That is, interesting. He continues to flip. Midway through, he stops and looks back at me. I, don't really know y'all's numerical system yet. Like, I could just be going on until I find it, but this feels like a bit of a waste of time. Oh, my apologies. I forgot about that detail. He passes the book back to me. It's cool, but didn't you say that you remembered everything? Well, I do, but not everything is in my working memory all the time, so things can slip by. I may spend some time recalling information if it's not an ongoing topic. So it's like when you run a store. There's some stuff up front and a whole lot of stuff in the back. That would be an apt metaphor, yes. Noted. Antonio then picks up his notebook and hurriedly writes something down while I open the page to page 87. It contains a scientific diagram of the old human skeleton. And here we go. I hand the book back to Antonio, who then scans the content of the page. That sure is a human skeleton if I've ever seen one. Cairo said something similar when inspecting you. How? Do you guys have like an X-ray machine in here? Well, no, but Kairos can see through skin and muscles. He can just do that? Some people can. People on Vistella can do amazing things even without the aid of tools, you see. Right, guessing it's like how you're just indestructible. In a way, yes. Antonio then looks down and tugs at his robe before staring right at me. The next words that I hear are not something that I would expect to discuss today. You two, have seen me naked, haven't you? My cheeks feel hot all of a sudden. I wave my hands around frantically. It was necessary, I swear. You and your clothes were soaked, and I mean, we didn't want you to catch a cold, and I only saw for a brief period. Kairos was the one who changed your clothes, and, He snorts. I can't do a convincing laugh, I'm sorry. I am utterly stunned. Of all the reactions that I thought that he would have when he brought up this topic, I wasn't expecting this to be it. Oh, huh. Okay, I gotta stop, or my stomach is gonna kill me. Antonio then lifts his glasses and wipes the tears from his eyes. Sorry. I just can't get mad at your face. You see, this is what they call confessing before you even hit. I'm not mad or anything. That would be like being pissed at the doctors for snipping off your clothes to save you, though it is kinda unfair. Unfair? I mean, yeah, you two saw me soaked and naked like the day that I was born, and I don't even know how you look under those clothes. We both go quiet. Halt. Antonio holds up his hand. Don't get it twisted. I just wanted to know what y'all's anatomy is like. I mean, like in the book. Like the diagrams, I mean. He begins to wave the book at me. I understand. Yeah, just making it clear in case you start thinking that you have to drop all your clothes off in front of me. Or something. I wasn't going to do that. Don't worry. Well, good. I don't want to see that anyway. His cheeks look notably redder than usual. Are you okay? Your cheeks are rather... Yeah. His voice cracks. Yeah, I'm good. Nothing is wrong. Yep. Can we continue? Of course. After taking a moment to recompose himself, Antonio asked me something. Okay, so then, what made Vistella people go from this? He taps on the page with his pencil, then draws a circle in the air directed at me. To this. Oh, that should be in the book. May I? Before I could finish the question, he was already handing it to me. Well, the history of what happened is mainly text, so I can just retell it to you. But there are some sketches from old medical journals. They can be rather graphic, so please proceed with caution. I flip over to where the sketches are before passing the book back to Antonio, who nods with a serious expression on his face. He studied the images in front of him. They depict various mutations on Priapatago humans, giving them a mismatch of animalistic traits. Half of a person's lower jaw turned into an insectoid mandible, while the other half remains. One person has their left limbs transformed into octopus tentacles, while coarse fur sprouts from their chest. Another illustration shows a person's toes fusing to form a hoof. In front of you are the mutations that the people endure during the Crenobog catastrophe, or the Black Mud catastrophe. Those who survived the initial wave of the Crenobog began developing animalistic traits. Unluckily, individuals became unrecognizable amalgamations of living creatures. Antonio has his mouth covered. He just sat there in silence with his eyes closed. Slowly he breathes in and out before closing the book. Then the lucky ones were your ancestors then? Yes. Can you give me a rundown of this entire Black Mud catastrophe? I want to know anything that I can in one sitting, top to bottom, please. Of course. Answer your questions to the bare minimum of my duties after all. But this will be rather lengthy, so get yourself comfortable. Antonio picks up his notebook and pencil. He then shifts around on the bed before giving me a nod. Oh, and as a disclaimer, I am only one person, so there may be gaps and biases in my knowledge, but I will try my best to be as impartial as possible. There are a lot of proper nouns, so I will try my best to speak in a way that translates to you. Currently, we are in the year 947 post-Scorch, Napo op Brucia? The events later known as the Black Mud catastrophe began 3 years before the first year of the post-Scorch calendar. On that day, every living creature was struck by an overwhelming sense of dread, a premonition of the catastrophe to come. Moments later, the Black God descended upon Vistella. An abnormal rain fell across the world, blanketing the planet in a tar-like substance. Anyone unfortunate enough to be touched by it, be it human or animal, was melted down and assimilated into the same black matter. Plants and fungi, however, were strangely unaffected. Unfortunately, those claimed by the rain did not simply die. Even in their new forms, they were still alive, writhing, crawling, hunting for those unassimilated. They endlessly pursued the survivors, mimicking voices to draw them closer. Some believed it was mere imitation, while others were convinced the voices truly belonged to their loved ones, friends and colleagues, begging them to join the Crenobog. Those who escaped the initial descent did not remain unchanged, however. Over time, their bodies began transforming, hands hardening into hooves, nails lengthening into claws, tails sprouting from their spines. Humanity was already beginning to twist into something else. Meanwhile, the black mud scattered across the world began moving as one. Inexorably, the mud flowed towards a singular point, the outer shores of the Ozina continent. Scholars discuss why that specific location was chosen. Perhaps it is simply where most of the biomass had accumulated. Perhaps the choice was arbitrary, or perhaps the place held some meaning to the Crenobog. We do not know why, and likely never will. There, the mud gathered into a vast pillar, the body of the Crenobog itself. It rose from the earth, reaching towards the heavens, crowned by a halo of darkness that submerged the entire continent. An entire night, as it stood, it continued to draw in a mass, to build itself. As the world collapsed into chaos, the gods fell silent. Prayers went unanswered. One by one they vanished. 7 of the myriad gods unbequeathed humanity artifacts capable of repelling the black mud, the divine keys. Soon after, even they would cease to communicate. All but one. Lord Siliri, god of Soliris, continued to answer the people's prayers. As the eldest child of Falthoth, his divine key was the most potent of them and could permanently scorch the Crenobog through visions granted to a few select. Sealy revealed that among the survivors were individuals capable of wielding the keys and striking down the Crenobog. The message ignited hope within survivors, and from it arose the crusade known as the Dawn Chase. Its aim was simple and absolute: deliver the chosen bearer of the key of Solaris to the Crenobog and put an end to its rampage. Eventually, someone who would wield the key of Solaris would be identified, a shepherd named Hoshua. He would then fulfill his role by sacrificing himself to activate the artifact. Radiant light engulfed the Crenobog's body, charring it and inflicting irreversible damage. The people cheered as the god's crown shattered after a bright flash of light. Even in the depths of night, sunlight shone upon Osnia for the first time in months. In the aftermath, a new plant species, Vivari, bloomed across the world. These events became known as the Great Scorch and the Grand Blooming, marking the beginning of a new calendar. Yet the Crenobog was not destroyed. Even in its charred state, it is still alive, simply dormant. From its slumbering body emerge horrific monsters. Unlike the Crenobog itself, these creatures could be slain, but their blood poisoned the land, air, and water, mutating any living being exposed to it. Many attempts were made to destroy the Crenobog's continent-spanning body, but none were successful. After 2 decades, a solution was conceived. 8 of the most powerful mages of the age would design a massive matrix, not to kill the Crenobog, but to entomb it permanently. With the aid of hundreds of others, the plan succeeded. The Crenobog was sealed and cast into the Vistella's outer orbit. Thus, our second moon, Faravgo, was born. Throughout the decades, Lord Sealy never revealed the true identity of the Crenobog outright, but we as a species were and still are curious. We theorized, debated, and pleaded for answers. Sealy's responses, when they came at all, grew increasingly cryptic. He did not confirm nor deny our theories, but always guided us closer to the truth. And when it finally came to light, it was an answer no one wished to hear. Life itself, our venerable parent, had fallen. The dread that seized the heart of every living being before the Crenobog's descent was Felthatha's last cry. What we had named the Crenobog, believing it as a hostile alien god, was, in truth, the same parent that we had long revered. The revelation shattered many, plunging what's left of humanity into despair. But a child's life does not end with their parent's death. And so life went on. Humanity rebuilt itself step by step. Children born after the Crenoblatuk catastrophe emerged as fully beastmen from birth. Only those with mammalian morph endured. Anyone who developed non-mammalian traits or the traits of too many animals quickly died out. Their bodies failed, as though the Crenobog's presence had been the only thing keeping them together. By the end of the catastrophe, humanity was likely the one who suffered the greatest losses. Our population fell by 97%, from an estimated 3 billion to just 90 million. Other animals fared better, but the survivors were left changed. Insects, plants, fungi, and simpler life endured mostly untouched, save for those swept away by the waves of black mud. The world lives on, but it would never be the same. 947 years after the defeat of the Crenobog, we reached the present. That was rather lengthy, but it was more or less how Dad had told it to me. An extremely simplified and as impartial as possible summary of the events. I must admit, quite a few details were intentionally omitted, things like human conflicts, treatment of those who exhibited more visible signs of mutations, persecution and perceived failures of the Dawn Chasers. History is biased and messy. The parts that I left out are controversial, and I'd rather not color your understanding before you've had time to find your own footing and figure out your own options. But if you want, I could go into depth about those things right now. Throughout the process, Antonio was trying to keep up and write everything down. He eventually stopped and was seemingly in a daze by the end of my retelling. But upon hearing my offer, he snapped out of it. No, that won't be necessary. Not right now. He then lets out a huge sigh, dropping his head. Jesus fucking Christ, that was a lot. With his hands propped on the bed, he leans backwards, his head facing the ceiling. I can provide an even shorter summary if you would like. It would be appropriate, but maybe save it as a refresher for another day. My head is buzzing from all of... He then makes a big sweeping gesture with his arms. That. 97% of everyone just died? Yes, the Crenobog was directly responsible for the deaths of 90% of the population. The remaining 7 perished from starvation and conflicts among survivors in the following years. We do not have precise statistics, of course, so all the numbers are just estimates. And you're saying all this happened globally? No point of origin, no foreseeable signs, no nothing? It just happened one day and almost drove everyone to extinction? Yes, it affected living beings regardless of location. Cities and places with high population density were hit harder. Since people had less room to run, these areas became hellscapes very early on. Survivors were mainly from the countryside and other areas with sparser populations. And all of this is real and not just some myth? How do you know? His tone wasn't accusatory. I don't dare to assume what he was currently feeling, but confusion and disorientation would definitely be my emotions if I were put in his position. All cultures from around the world report the same catastrophe. Living beings melting into liquid, people mutating in different ways. We have medical records from the time documenting these transformations, as you saw just now, along with preserved remains of half-mutated people. There are also mummified corpses and fossil evidence of old humans dating back at least 5,000 years. No evidence that we, the new humans, existed anywhere before year 1, post-scorch, had been found. And our second moon is the biggest physical evidence that we have. Scientific records show no trace of its existence preceding the events of the Black Mud catastrophe. Only one moon was ever depicted in pre-scorch art and literature. It would be impossible for an entire moon not to be mentioned anywhere for thousands of years. Yeah, I see. But how? If the god of life is dead, then how come... Shouldn't everything be dead? We have seen gods die before. Their deaths don't mean the destruction of their entire domain, just temporary destabilization. But the death of Falthath is something that no one saw coming. Scholars theorize the Crenobog is the fallout of their domain destabilizing. Antonio is notably paler now. Antonio, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking, I guess. I'm not sure of his biology yet, but there was always a certain rosiness to his cheeks. Our bodies are relatively the same, so similar principles should apply. Blood rushes away from the face to other organs in time of distress, physical or otherwise. Without fur, it would be much more visible, which would explain the paleness, and his breathing is shallower too, not to the point of hyperventilation, but definitely not his normal pace. He has yet to voice any distress, but this can't be a good thing. I have to calm him down, distract him somehow. Think. Hey, how about we move on to a less heavy subject? His gaze snaps onto me. Huh? As you know, you didn't really exist on Vistella until 2 days ago. After the quarantine, we are probably going to need a cover story on how you got here and why you don't, have any knowledge of our world. A cover story, huh? He scoots forward a bit. Well, I don't really know anything here, so how about amnesia? I scratched the chin on my fur. Amnesia, huh? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, no? If I don't have any memory of my past, people can't grill me on why I don't know shit about crap. And it's much safer than giving me a fake origin here and having to lie about it. That's how they always get away with the character not knowing anything about the world or their past. Complete blank slate. He suddenly looks off to the side, leaning his body that way. In the fictional stories that I have seen, anyway. Oh, what kind of stories? It's just, stuff that I read on the side. Nothing of importance. So retrograde amnesia then, meaning your memories before the amnesia onset were affected. Yep, I mean, I did get pretty fucked up. As he speaks, he tugs at his rope around the area where he's the most heavily bandaged. And I don't have any possessions on me other than my clothes, glasses, phone, and camera. Maybe I was running from something? No, I have amnesia, so let's just make it as simple as possible. You two were doing something up in the mountains, found me all fucked up with zero memories of how I got there, and brought me back to your place. How about that? I suppose that it should work. And people around here aren't fond of digging up others' past. So once you get past the initial wave of attention, it should be smooth sailing from there. I will discuss with Kairos more about our part of the story later, how we found you and such, to line up our narratives. Mentioning Kairos' name made me remember something. I look to the side and see the bowl of porridge just sitting there on the table. Oh, your food. It's probably cold by now. I should let you eat and collect your thoughts. Sorry for dropping such a heavy load on you. Antonio's mouth curls into a smirk for just a split second. Yeah, I probably need some time to just digest the insane lore bomb that you just dropped on me. I'm gonna be grilling you about it later, so prepare yourself. It would be my honor to be grilled. Another smile appears on his face, less transient this time. Well then, before you go, what are you doing after this? Oh, I have been so occupied mentally with this conversation that I never really thought about what I would do after. I think that I will do some analysis to figure out what went wrong with the window maker. Do some work configuring the illusionary disguise that I talked about and, formulate a digestible study plan about our world. A Vistella survival crash course? In good conscience, I can't let you go outside without equipping you with proper knowledge. Thanks, man. By the way, do you just have an illusionary disguise thingy lying around? I have a few of varying quality, actually, but only one is viable for long-term usage. Sometimes I buy arcane tools to disassemble them and see how they operate internally. So you just have a bunch of magical thingamajigs around here? Oh, I sell them to someone in town. She opens an arcane tool shop. I only keep a few interesting ones to myself. Oh, an arcane tool shop? We can visit once your quarantine is over. Sounds fun. And yeah, that's really all that I have for now. I have a bowl of porridge and a lore to digest. I will see you later then. Please ring the bell if there is any trouble. Okay, see ya, Darius. He raises his hand to give me a wave, so I give one back. I try to give him my brightest smile, and he returns it with one of his own. See you, Antonio. As the door closes, I feel my legs go numb. No, my entire body is all wobbly like jelly. I lean against the nearby railing and slowly make my way down the stairs. Halfway, though, I just sit down and bury my face in my hands. That was bad. Utterly horrid. No. Why did I go on an entire monologue? He looked mortified by the end. I should have tried to ease him into it somehow. It was probably the worst approach possible, and I didn't even address how there could be humans both here and on Earth. And so I just sit there, alone on the stairs, with my face buried in my hands. If Antonio saw this, I would be so embarrassed. Somehow, the thought of Antonio seeing me in this state gives me a sudden urge of spirit. No, it's my fault that he is in this position. I have to be more reliable for his sake. I stand up, my fist raised in the air, my tail wags, making soft thuds as it hits the wall next to me. That's when Kairos walks by, looking up at me from downstairs. My tail goes limp, and my face feels immediately hotter. Hey, Kairos. I was just, stretching. Yeah. He blinks, turns around and goes on his way, as if he saw nothing. My entire posture drops, slouching. I take my time going downstairs, making sure that Kairos has already walked off before I get there. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So, we got a lot of information dumped on us. So first and foremost, we got to see a little bit more from Darius's perspective. We saw that he either is an anxious mess or he might have a little bit of the tysm. And I say that because the way that he was behaving and thinking kind of gives me a little bit of tysm vibes, where overthinking, sort of like planning everything in ahead, and then like having to have everything ready and set in order to do something, even though you could probably just go in, you know, blind. And this is also a very smart individual who's basically like a walking encyclopedia, but it's also sometimes random knowledge. So like, yeah. I know the whole they might have a touch of the tysm thing gets like thrown around a lot, but like he really is giving those vibes. He seems nice. I mean, I am immune to the wolf propaganda by now, so like it's like, oh, it's another wolf-like character as the probable love interest. How original. I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, they're nice. A lot of info dump. The Crenobog, I guess the corpse, or I guess you could call it the zombie corpse of what used to be the deity that oversaw this planet. Because I mean, it being responsible for the mutations that turned them from what we assume to be human, which would be human like what we are, into what is essentially a furry now, or I guess an anthropomorphic animal. Why that happened, why their death occurred, why their death prompted their, I guess you could call it a zombie corpse, because I mean, it seemed like it was actively trying to turn all life into black goo, which, like, yeah, so it's like, why was it doing that? And then having all the other deities just suddenly disappear, and having only the one that's responsible for the sun come in and be like, hey, so I'm gonna have to help you guys, because you kind of have to get rid of this thing because it's gonna kill you guys. And then them having to throw it into a moon, or throw it into what is essentially the second moon. So like, so what's up with that? I'm assuming eventually we'll find out. But yeah. Anyway, so what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play the stars of your world, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the HOH, yeah. They do have a Patreon, so if you'd like to subscribe to their project and get earlier access to these builds as they're coming out, you can do that. And I assume that they have that, and any other little thing that they might offer, hopefully. If you'd like to support the channel, then, you know, become a channel member and get earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. And if you can't do that, then I do have a Ko-fi. Any form of support is appreciated. So, you know, like the video, subscribe to the channel, blah, blah, blah. And I do have a throne. So yeah, I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.